I can't believe a blonde man made it into the #1 spot on my top 10 reads of the year list. Hi friends, it's me again. We're at the end of the year, which means we get to go over our favorite reads of the year. It's personally my favorite time in the book community. I don't know, I just love seeing the books that meant a lot to people. My top 10 reads of the year, it kind of feels all over the place because I'm not going by the way that I rated the books. For instance, there are, I think, a couple 5-star reads I have at the bottom, and then a couple like 4-star or 4.5 reads I have at the top. So I'm going strictly on vibes, how the characters made me feel, if I still think about these characters heavily. Coming in at number 10, we have Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. I don't know what it is about this book, about this story, but I have been completely obsessed, and I'm so excited for the second book to come out, even though it doesn't come out until June of 2024. Salt Kiss is the first book in Sierra Simone's new series she's doing called Lioness. The Lioness trilogy, and the vibes in this are just so mysterious and sexy and hot and taboo and forbidden. Everything that Sierra Simone just delivers so well to me. This book is MMF, which y'all know I really enjoy. Basically, you have Mark, Tristan, and Isolde. Tristan is Mark's bodyguard and his uncle-in-law, something like that. They're not related. Tristan has just left the army and he kind of doesn't know what to do with himself. He's also struggling with a bit of PTSD. Mark asks him to become his bodyguard, and Mark is the owner of a sex club, which is always fun for me. They end up kind of forming a very sexual relationship, and Tristan is really able to come into his sexuality, which I did love exploring in this. There is a prequel to this called Salt in the Wound, which I really recommend reading before this book because you get to meet Isolde, and it's told through her point of view, because Isolde is promised in this arranged marriage to Mark, but then something happens. They're estranged for a couple years, and now it's kind of time for them to start planning the wedding. So Tristan is also tasked with protecting Isolde. Tristan ends up falling in love with Isolde as well. So it's just this big kind of love triangle thing. And personally, I love love triangles. Unpopular opinion, depending on how they're done, of course, I don't mind, but just because there's like so much tabooness, and Mark is a scary motherfucker. Isolde and Tristan are just so sweet and so soft with each other. So just seeing the different dynamics in each of the relationship, I don't know, I loved it personally. I am so excited for book 2 because this one ended on a kind of cliffhanger that I saw coming, but I was like, I don't know if I can wait months for this next book. Like, are you joking? This solidified that Sierra Simone is an auto-buy author for me. I am just so obsessed with her brain. That girl can write a damn good book, and it's gonna be heavily researched and fucking hot and probably make me emotional, but it's so good. Always so good. So number 10 is going to Salt Kiss. Number 9 is going to Business or Pleasure by Rachel and Solomon. I have talked about my love for this book in a previous video. I think about these characters quite a lot, honestly, and I think it's because the sex positivity in this book was just done so very well to me. Business or Pleasure follows Chandler and Finn. Chandler is essentially a ghostwriter, so she writes like celebrities and influencers memoirs. One day she goes to a signing of a book that she wrote and the author doesn't recognize her, so she kind of has like a crisis when it comes to her career. So she goes to a bar, ends up meeting this guy named Finn. Well, she doesn't know his name is Finn at first, but it's a whole big thing. They have a one-night stand. He is horrible at sex. It's like very bad. She's not having a good time, right? So she's expecting not to see this guy ever again, thank God. Then she ends up being offered the opportunity to write a memoir for this really famous guy who did like this TV show that all the girlies are still in love with. It's giving like Supernatural vibes a little bit, or no, maybe like a Teen Wolf kind of TV show, you know. It's something with like monsters and supernatural stuff. People still go to like Comic Cons for it. It was a really big deal back in the day. One of the lead characters, she's offered to write his memoir. Come to find out, it's Finn Walsh, who was the guy she had horrible sex with. They kind of form a friendship, and Finn recognizes that he is bad at sex. Chandler is willing to help him get better at that, so she's kind of giving him sex lessons, which I love in a book. And I just thought it was very sweet and very realistic, but it also created more of like a safe space to talk about sex with a partner. I don't know, that just means so much to me because, like I said in my previous videos, I love reading books where men know what the fuck they're doing, but let's not pretend like men are really out here knowing what the fuck they're doing in real life. Not only getting a character who is willing to help and like create a safe space for Finn, but they're also having fun. They're also learning from each other. They're forming a really good relationship, and just seeing like the other difficult conversations they were having about their religions and something that happened to Chandler that she kind of struggled with. It was fun. It was cute. It got me out of a slump. The audiobook was really good for this as well. Number 8 is going to Love Redesigned by our bestie Lauren Asher. I think this this is like the third year in a row that Lauren's books have made it into my top 10. 2021, The Fine Print made it. 2022, Terms and Conditions. Yeah, I think this is his third book, so shout out Lauren. She's been killing it. First of all, she is thick, she is gorgeous, she is chunky, she is the moment. I had the opportunity to ARC read this, and I also got the audiobook as well, so I listened to the audiobook and switched off with the digital ARC that I got. It was phenomenal. The audiobook is definitely one of my favorite audiobooks this year. We know her covers are stunning, but let's get into it. Like, her brain is insane. The story follows Julian and Dahlia. They are kind of childhood besties slash rivals. Both of their moms, I believe, were best friends. So growing up, their families were always really close, and Dahlia and Julian just always had this like rivalry towards each other, like who could be the best all the time. And then something happens when they're a bit older that kind of severs their friendship. Years later, Dahlia returns back to like Wisteria, Michigan, shout out Michigan, because she is struggling with this past relationship that she had. And Julian's mom suggests that he help Dahlia kind of get out of her creative rut because she's an interior designer, I believe, and Julian works in construction, so they're in the same field. As they're working together, they both unpack both of their previous traumas with just so much stuff that happened. Like, Julian has his family issues. Dahlia is recovering from a broken engagement. Julian and Dahlia get to explore why their relationship didn't work out in the past. So it's just like a lot of unpacking of just all of these things that went wrong. So it kind of feels like a second chance in a sense. It also follows the line of more like childhood rivalry slash friends to lovers, which y'all know I love, love, love. And I know a lot of people say that this is like their new favorite Lauren Asher book, which as it should be, bestie. I don't know if I can give up Redeemed in Terms and Conditions spot to this personally, but it definitely is such a phenomenal book, and I'm so obsessed with this new era of writing that Lauren's in, and I'm so excited for the second book as well. I think if you've read some of Lauren's books in the past and you haven't picked up this one, you will definitely fall in love with it. Like, her writing is spectacular, her ideas are spectacular, the covers are always fucking phenomenal, and I don't know, I'm just very, very proud of her. So number 8 to my bestie. Number 6 is going to Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This book surprised the hell out of me. My holds for it came through on Libby, and I just needed something to listen to, and I seen like it circulating around Bookstagram, so I'm like, okay, let me give it a listen. Like, I'm expecting to fly through it. Should be like a cute, fun, easy book. Was not expecting this to make it into my top 10, but here we are. This book was so fucking good. This book follows Emma and Elliot. Emma is a wedding planner who kind of doesn't even believe in weddings, which I love. That's something I would personally find myself doing. Like, oh yeah, I love planning weddings, but me getting married, no. Elliot Bloom is a florist, of course, because with a last name like Bloom, you have to be a florist. The story follows kind of like a past present timeline. So in the past, you have it where Emma is still like the assistant to a wedding planner. Emma and Elliot kind of form this friends with benefits relationship, but Emma does not want to commit, so their relationship kind of ends very, very bad. Fast forward, I forgot how many years in the present. I think like maybe 2, 3, 5. Okay. She is now like a big hotshot wedding planner. The brides that she's planning the wedding for wants Elliot as their florist, so now Emma is forced with working with him again after 5 years of essentially not seeing him. Very good. It's very angsty. Second chance. I think I said this in a previous video as well. I was not expecting this book to be so hot. Like, their sex scenes, excuse the fuck out of me. Let me find out florists have it like that. Go to a flower shop. Number 6 is going to You Again by Kate Goldbeck, another book that surprised the hell out of me. One, because this book is written in third person, and y'all know I am not a third person girly, okay? Like, I have to be in the mood for it, and third person on audio I've always struggled with, but I listened to this on audio and I ate this shit up. And when I was reading some of the reviews before I picked this up, I was a little nervous because I saw that people really didn't like it. It's kind of been marketed as a When Harry Met Sally kind of storyline, and I don't think I've ever watched that movie. This book follows Ari and Josh, who can't seem to stop running into each other. The first time Ari and Josh meet, he is dating her roommate at the time, and Ari is also dating her. So Josh comes over to the apartment one night to cook for the roommate, and Ari is there, and they instantly do not like each other. So that's the first encounter they had, and then they meet years later under another like crazy circumstance where they hate each other. But one year they are actually able to form a kind of friendship. Like, they're very surprised at how much they end up liking each other. Ari is a struggling comedian. She's kind of a hot mess all over the place, which I love about her. Seeing her flaws and her feelings about her past relationships that haven't really worked out was so heartbreaking, and also like I want to give her a big hug because I saw myself a lot in her. And then you have Josh, who is a chef, I believe, and he's also a big asshole. So getting these two characters to find things that they like in each other while also helping each other cope with just the way life has been beating their ass, basically. It's something I desperately needed. It's friends to lovers, and y'all know that's one of my favorite tropes ever. It was funny. The audiobook is definitely one of my faves this year as well. Just glad I found Ari and Josh when I needed them the most, because they mean the world to me, and I really, really love this book. Okay, we are now getting into the top 5, which y'all, I am kind of surprised because 3 of these books I've read in the past month. One of the books I read in November, and then the other 2 I read literally like 2 weeks ago. So they squeezed their ass into my top 10, and I'm not mad about it because they were phenomenal. At number 5, we have Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. I believe in like October, my friend Selena suggested this book to me, but I tried eyeballing it, and for some reason I just wasn't in the mood to eyeball a book like this. Then I took a break from it, and then everyone was saying that the audiobook, I should give that a try because it was like phenomenal and dual narration, and I've seen a lot of people say it's their favorite audiobooks of the year. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a try on Audible. This book on audio was fucking insane in a good way, like complimentary. It's narrated by Joe Arden and Lucy Rivers. I don't mind Joe Arden as a narrator, but Lucy Rivers, I have kind of struggled with her in the past. I don't know what changed with her in this book, but she ate down like rent was due. The premise of this book is very fun for me, but I see how some people could not like it or like want to invest in a storyline like this. But y'all know I'm into deep, dark, gruesome shit, so this was a lot of fun. You have Sloan and Rowan, who are serial killers. They're both serial killers, but it's more so like vigilantes because they kill serial killers. So I'm on their side, you know? Sloan and Rowan end up meeting because Sloan gets kind of stuck in a pickle after she unalives a serial killer, and Rowan helps her out. They end up forming a friendship and setting up a kind of like bet or game of some sort that every year they would each hunt down like a notorious serial killer, and whoever kills them first wins. Sounds like fun. Rowan is instantly enamored by Sloan, which I love. Like, he was down bad for her. So yeah, you have 2 serial killers who fall in love because they are playing a game of who can kill other serial killers first. I love this. The production of this audiobook was so fucking fantastic. Like, I was cackling out loud, literally laughing, just because the performances by the narrators were so good and on point, and like they put their ass into this audiobook. This is also rom-com-y, so dealing with gruesome and gory topics while also having the 2 main characters make jokes about it. I don't know, it hit me in all the feels. I had the best time reading this. Definitely check out trigger warnings because shit did happen in this, but I had fun. That says a lot about what I'm able to handle mentally. I'm so excited for the next book in the series, and I hope you guys pick it up because the girlies, we had fun with this one. At number 4, we have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. This is one of the first 5 stars I gave out in 2023, and I read this in like February or March of this year, so I'm surprised that she stuck around this long. I always get very nervous when I read like one of my favorite books of the year at the beginning of the year because I'm like, oh my god, I hope I don't forget about these characters. I hope other books don't like knock it out of place. So I'm glad that Bestie is in my top 5. Y'all know I could not shut the fuck up about this book after I read it. I was crying about it on the internet. This is the 2nd book in the Windy City series by Liz Tom Ford. The first one is Mile High, and Caught Up just came out a couple months ago. That's the 3rd one that I really did enjoy as well. There's something about Ryan Shea and Indy Ivers that just really, they make me emotional every time I think about them because like Ryan Shea is my ideal man. I'm pretty sure we've all seen the hype and have heard the spiel on this book so many times this year, so I'll be quick. Indy has just broken up with her boyfriend because he is a cheater. He's a lying cheater who lies and cheats. Ryan is one of the top NBA players in the league. Like, he is that girl for real on the court, and Indy needs a place to live because of her cheating, lying ex-boyfriend. Stevie, who is Ryan's little sister, she asks Ryan if Indy can live with her. At first he's like, no, I don't really want people in my space because he is very private. He ends up agreeing, and Indy moves in. Ryan kind of needs Indy for something as well because he is the captain and the general manager doesn't really like how impersonal he feels. Like, he's very closed off and the team just isn't like bonding the way that they should. So in order to prove to his general manager that he is like a people person, a kind of family man, him and Indy decide to fake date so he can come off as more just like soft, I guess. But as usual with the fake dating trope, you know that these 2 characters fall so slowly and hard for each other, and you know the sex is also good once they finally like cross that threshold. This book delivered in all aspects. A big theme in this book that I really appreciate is the idea of quiet love. Finding a partner who, if they're not the best at like voicing their emotions about you, like the way they show up physically or like just with the small acts of service that they do, like he showed up for her in the simplest but most impactful ways to me, and I feel like that's all a girl could want. Like, this man is in the NBA. He could book all types of helicopters and fancy dates and stuff, but he doesn't do that. He shows up in the quiet, more impactful ways. And it made me realize that, like, if I can't find a partner who does that for me, he's not the one. Like, Ryan Shea really is my standard now. That's just one thing I really do love about romance. It continuously shapes my idea of what love is and what I want and how I should be treated and how I shouldn't settle for less. And I think Ryan and Indy are definitely a couple that did that for me. Okay, top 3. The Rebel King by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the All the Kingsmen series. Oh, that's a mouthful. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. All the Kingsmen series. Anyway, this is the second book. Second books that follow one couple have really been winning for me this year. I have struggled saying goodbye to characters, and don't get me wrong, I love interconnected standalones. I really, really do. I think I'm in my duology era because sometimes I just want one couple. And I feel like sometimes when characters get one book, things just move so fast and you have to talk about kids and marriage like immediately, and sometimes I don't want that. I'm like, why can't we get them together for a hot minute, get all their third act conflict stuff out of the way, get them to understanding each other and learning how to communicate with each other, and then give them a second book where they really understand each other and their conflicts do stem from like, oh, do we want kids, do we want to get married? Like, everything just isn't so rushed. I don't know how to really explain it. This series did that for me, where it's like the first book we have like time jumps and all their drama and just getting them to a point where they know that they're soulmates and that they want to be together, and then in this we get to see them be together and have these difficult conversations. And personally, this might be toxic of me, but I love seeing characters argue. Like, I love seeing a couple get into a disagreement, an argument, a fight, and then have very hot makeup sex afterwards. Like, don't even give me a third act conflict. Give me your characters getting into a very heated argument and then having the filthiest makeup sex ever. Like, can we start doing that more in 2024? Like, I get it, some couples need to break up, but also, do they all have to break up? Is a third act conflict really, really necessary? This series follows Lennox and Maxim. This is more of like a political kind of book. So you have Maxim Cade, who is the son of an oil prodigy or something like that. I don't even know how to fucking explain it, but Maxim cares about the world. He's like an environmentalist or whatever. It's so hot. And in this book, Lennox has worked her way to being like a campaign manager for future presidents or something like that. You know what Olivia Pope does? That's what Lennox basically does, right? And I think that's very attractive of her to do. So Lennox and Maxim are very Fitz and Olivia coded, which I loved. It's what sold me on picking up the series finally. I can't really say much about this book because it is the second one, but I did enjoy the first one as well. That one you get to see like more of how they met and like the time jumps that happen, because there is an age gap. So Maxim met Lennox when she was like 17 and he was around like 24. So obviously we weren't doing that. And then years later they meet again, fall in love, but then their jobs kind of like separate them for a long period of time. And then years after that is when we finally get to like the bread and butter of, can Maxim come back and redeem himself, and can they be together? Like, can they make this work? I highly recommend listening to this because the narrators fucking killed it. It was such a good audiobook. And also, I don't think I would have digested this as well if I didn't listen to it, because it is very political. But the conversations that were had in the series just about like Native American land and the environment and just like politics in the world and how fucked up it is in general, I really, really appreciated. I'm glad both of these characters were able to have such complex conversations around hard topics, especially because Lennox is Native American and Maxim is a white man. So they hold such a special place in my heart. Like, they were hot, they were funny, they were so stubborn, but it was hot. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach because I'm like, why can't I find a hot guy that cares about the world and that loves me? The number 2 spot also belongs to the second book that follows one couple in a series, and that is After the Fall by Gianna Darling. This is the 4th book in the Fall and Men series that I read this summer. And y'all know I've not been able to shut the fuck up about this series since I read it because it was so much fun. It's very taboo. I cannot emphasize enough how taboo this fucking series is, so please check up your trigger warnings. And also remember that it takes place in Canada. They're working with different parameters, okay? King and Cress, their first book is Lessons in Corruption, which is the first book in the series, and it was teacher student. So King was 18 in high school and Cress was like 26, his teacher. And I really did have fun with Lessons in Corruption. Like, there's something about their love that's just so pure and literally poetic. Like, he's a poet, he writes her poetry. It's so fucking, oh my god. So I really enjoyed their first book, but the second book of them, like I said before, getting to a point where it's like they're so secure in their relationship and they know they want to be together, and like in this book they talk about marriage and kids. Like, it just felt like I had all the time in the world with them, and their relationship just felt very well paced to me. I cried so many times reading this book because of like the emotional scenes and the fucked up stuff that Gianna does, because that woman is insane for real. Like, she's sick in the head. If you know, you know. But she hurt me in this book a lot. It just solidified that King and Cress are my favorite couple in the series. I adore them so fucking much. Like, I'm tearing up right now just thinking about them. Oh my god, I did not want to do this. Oh, that's embarrassing. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just the heart and soul of this universe to me. So I get emotional every time I think about the things that they've said and done for each other, and I don't know why I'm crying over a fucking taboo motorcycle book, but it's fine, okay? It's fine. And at number 1, which, shocker, is also a couple's second book in a series, Wild at Heart by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book in the Simple Wild series. Here, I will hold up the Simple Wild, because I know you've heard of the book, but in case this is the Simple Wild, right? I have owned this series for 2 years. I'm so fucking mad at myself for putting it off for so long, because y'all, the way Calla and Jonah surprised the fuck out of me, like they're at number 1. They're not moving. This was solidified the moment I closed this book specifically. There's something in my eye. Is it tears? Their story starts off in the Simple Wild. Calla finds out that her dad is sick and they've been estranged. Like, they've talked on the phone a bit throughout her adolescence, but then something happens and they just stop talking in general. So she finds out that her dad is sick, so she decides to visit Alaska to just kind of like get to know him more. There she meets Jonah, who is a bush pilot, and he's very fucking grumpy. Her dad's also a pilot as well. They fly planes. They are sky cowboys. Jonah and Calla start off on a very rough foot because Jonah thinks she's this like prissy city girl, which she is, but like the way he came for her, I did not like him. I was like, this series is gonna go so wrong for me if he doesn't get his head out of his ass immediately. But luckily he did. Like, they got to a point where it was just like fun bickering with each other, which was so fun, and they are so hot. I can't believe a blonde man made it into the #1 spot on my top 10 reads of the year list. That's crazy. This is definitely one of the most domestic books I've ever read. Like, it's not very plot heavy at all. It's literally about Jonah and Calla moving into the middle of nowhere, like buying a house, getting it together, meeting their neighbors, like Calla being more immersed into the Alaska culture. Like, it's so domestic, and I fear that a lot of people will call them boring, which I don't agree with, because I can literally just read 100 pages of them at the grocery store if that's what was given to me. Like, I don't care what they're doing, as long as I get them, Calla and Jonah being Calla and Jonah. I don't care what they're doing. Give it to me right now. I will eat it. This book snuck up on me. This couple definitely snuck up on me, because like I said, I wanted to drop kick Jonah in his fucking face in the first book. I definitely cried when I finished this book too, because I didn't want to say goodbye. They did have like a cute little novella that I read, but it's like, give me more. What am I gonna do with the little novella? It was great. It's fucking phenomenal, but give me more. I am obsessed with them. I can't stop thinking about them, and I feel like if I get to a point in a character's journey where it's like, I don't care what they're doing, I just want to read about it, then they're the one. Oh god, this is the hard part. So these are my top 10 reads of 2023. I had a good time with these couples, with these stories. They mean the absolute world to me, and I'm excited to see where some of these series go. I was sad to say goodbye to some of these books because they're the end of the series, or just the end of an era for some of these couples, and I cannot wait to see what we have in store for 2024. As usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Mwah.